Welcome kapatid to our series on how to answer law school and bar problems. Today we are taking a look at a problem from the 2022 bar exam. I'll be showing you precisely how to answer a problem, how to be responsive to a problem, and how you can also arrive at an elegant and precise answer all on your own. All of this and more coming right up. Hi, my name is Lex and welcome to Lex in Motion. In this channel, I'll be helping you build your competence, confidence, and capability in law school. Start today by hitting the subscribe button below. New episodes are posted every Friday. Without further ado, let us now begin with a problem from the 2022 bar examination. I'll be showing it on your screen right now. The first step in answering every problem is to take a deep breath. Find a way to calm yourself down. Don't look at the problem, don't look at your screen. Ipikit mo ang iyong mga mata kapatid at huminga ka lang muna ng malalim. The second step is to take another deep breath. As you exhale, know and understand that however way you're going to answer this next problem really is not going to matter. Tuldok lang ito kapatid. It is a dot, a speck, minutiae in the great grand story of your law school journey. And as you exhale, envision yourself passing your exam, passing the bar exam, taking the oath and what you'll be wearing on your roll signing. Now, you are ready to look at the problem. The third step is to read the last sentence, then the second to the last sentence, and then the two sentences together. If what you see at the end of the problem are phrases like explain briefly or discuss fully, feel free to include these with the last sentence. We do this, kapatid, in order for us to zero in on the problem. We can only be responsive if we know exactly what is being asked. We skip ahead to the last sentence because this is where the question is usually found. Remember, we can only be responsive if we know exactly what is being asked. Let's look at the last sentence of the problem. Discuss the criminal liability for the crimes charged against each of the following. 1. Bernardo, 2. members of Bernardo's armed group, and 3. Benjamin. Explain briefly. Let's read the second to the last sentence of the problem for more clues. Bernardo, the members of his armed group, and Benjamin were later charged with 10 counts of murder for the death of Yori's supporters and 1 count of attempted murder of Yori. The next step is for us to identify the rule, concept, provision, or doctrine that is being asked in the problem. The master key to being hyper-responsive is by identifying the exact rule, provision, concept, or doctrine upon which the examiner has built the problem. If we can reverse engineer how the problem was drafted in the first place, then it gives us the fighting chance to give the precise answer that the examiner is looking for. Dito sa problem na ito kapatid, ano kaya ang sinusubukan sa atin ng ating examiner? What is the rule, concept, provision, or doctrine that is being tested in this problem? If what is being tested is still unclear to you based only on the last two sentences, then feel free to come back to this after the next step. Here, what is being tested is our understanding of criminal liability, what it means, and how it is incurred. Criminal liability is a broad concept, kapatid. When what is being asked is the determination of criminal liability, always try and be very, very sensitive to the action words associated with each and every one of your actors. When you're being asked to determine criminal liability, begin by identifying whether or not a conspiracy exists. If there is a conspiracy, the action of one actor becomes the action of the group. The act of one is the act of all. Next, if there is no conspiracy, we cannot tag all of our actors as principals. We would now need to sort them out as principals, accomplices, and then as accessories, if any. If they are principals, please take note what kind of principal do we have. Next, determine the crime committed. Look at all of the individual acts which, when taken together, could potentially spell out the elements of a crime. Once you identify the crime, then determine the stage of execution. Last kapatid ay ang mga modifying circumstances. If you see aggravating circumstances, take note of them. Which of them are applicable? How many of them will be absorbed by one or the other? Sometimes you will find qualifying circumstances. These are circumstances that may upgrade a crime from one offense to the next. These questions, the flow of how to determine criminal liability, is especially useful if you are going to be tasked with writing a complaint or information. I hope I am making sense so far. Sa ganitong paraan, malabong-malabo pa na meron ka pang makakalimutang sagutan sa tanong tungkol sa criminal liability. The next step now, kapatid, is for us to read the problem from start to finish. We will look for bits and pieces, anything really, that will help us answer the question. We will go over the problem line by line and look for clues that might help us give to the examiner the answer he or she wants. If you see an actor, mark it. If you see the actor's action, mark it. If you think something might be relevant, then mark it. All others we can safely ignore as noise. I hope I'm still making sense so far. Sa bungad ng problem, ipinakikilala tayo ngayon ng ating examiner kay Bernardo na kung ating maaalala ay kumakaharap ngayon sa kasong pagpatay ng 10 tao at pagtatangka na rin sa buhay ni Yori, another actor. Relevant din sa akin na nagkita si Bernardo at Benjamin sa isang hotel para mapag-usapan ang planong pagpatay kay Yori sa araw ng filing ng kanyang COC. Batay sa planong ito, si Bernardo na ang bahala sa baril at sa pera at si Benjamin naman ang maghahanap ng mga taong haharang sa mga kalsadang patungo sa COMELEC. Sa second paragraph ay may plot twist ang ating examiner. Umatras na sa plano si Benjamin at nagtungo siya ng Maynila. Tuloy pa rin ang balak ni Bernardo at kusa itong humanap ng tao, mapatay lang si Yori. Relevant sa akin ang he convened his own armed group and laid a new plan to kill Yori. Relevant din sa akin ang in accordance with it, his armed group patrolled all the roads. Now we have 2 more actions from 2 actors. Bernardo remained in his house. Bernardo's armed group opened fire at them. Subsequently, 10 of Yori's supporters died, but Yori escaped because he was in a bulletproof vehicle. Finally, the examiner asks us to determine the criminal liability for the crimes of the 10 counts of murder and the attempted murder of Yori for the following people. Una, syempre si Bernardo. Next, ang kanyang armadong grupo. And finally, Benjamin. After marking our paragraph, it should look like this. Knowing what you now know about the problem, please pause this video and type up your answers in the comment section. This is the only way for me to gauge your answers and I will try to respond as best as I can. Libre dito ang magkamali, kapatid. Hindi mo ito ikakabagsak dahil hindi mo ako professor at hindi rin kita estudyante. Huwag kang matatakot na magkakamali dito, kapatid, kung ikakatama mo naman sa iyong quiz at midterms o maging iyong bar exam. This problem is a good illustration of the technique I call leading. Leading is the process of dropping as many bits and pieces of information for a student to reach a particular conclusion or maintain a particular position or to support a given argument. Leading is all about baiting the student to give the incorrect answer. It works best against students who are prepared, who are ready, but not at 100%. Okay lang yan, kapatid, kung hindi ka tinatablan ng leading, lalo na kung wala ka pa sa kalahati ng iyong naaaral para sa inyong quiz o exam. Leading puts the student into a position where he or she seems to have no other choice but to agree with the position, the argument, or the conclusion that the examiner has laid down before you. On the flip side, our instincts tell us that this position is wrong, much like the story of Hansel and Gretel, when they were led to the hut or the house of the evil witch who eats little children. Leading also preys on our natural tendency to overthink our own answers. When you face questions where the examiner uses the technique of leading, my advice is for you to follow your gut instinct. If the answer is too easy, it's probably incorrect. The answer might be found in some obscure case or some exception that may not have been necessarily covered in your classes. Dito sa problem na ito, binibitag tayo ng ating examiner na sumagot ng degrees of participation. Binibitag tayong sumagot na principal itong si Bernardo, and he is a principal by inducement under Article 17 of the Revised Penal Code. His goons, his armed men, therefore, must be liable as principals by direct participation. The examiner even left us with some breadcrumbs, such as the line where Bernardo stayed at home to monitor the situation without actually aiming a gun and firing upon Yori. However, when you really look at the problem, what is being tested here is our understanding of a conspiracy. Article 8 of the Revised Penal Code provides that conspiracy and proposal to commit felony are punishable only in the cases in which the law specially provides a penalty therefore. A conspiracy exists when two or more persons come to an agreement concerning the commission of a felony and decide to commit it. There is proposal when the person who has decided to commit a felony proposes its execution to some other person or persons. It is true, kapatid, that Bernardo and Benjamin met at a hotel. They have come to an agreement regarding the killing of Yori and they have decided to commit it. They are, for all intents and purposes, in a conspiracy. However, Benjamin has desisted from the express conspiracy. He abandoned the shared goal of murdering Yori. Being in a conspiracy is not a crime per se. Article 8 teaches us that a mere conspiracy can be punished only when there is a crime for it. Articles 115 and 136 of the Revised Penal Code are examples of crimes that punish a mere conspiracy to commit treason, insurrection, coup d'etat, or sedition. However, there is no such crime of conspiracy or proposal to commit murder. Kung meron man, kapatid, ay baka matagal na kayong nakulong ng mga kaklase mo dahil sa sinusumpa ninyong mamatay ang professor ninyong 4 lang ang pinasa last semester. In this problem, we have a second conspiracy. When Bernardo was abandoned by Benjamin, he convened with another armed group. They met together and then executed the plan to kill Yori. It does not matter, kapatid, that the problem does not explicitly state that they had an express agreement to murder Yori. For a conspiracy to exist, hindi kailangan na magkaroon kayo ng kasulatan na lahat kayo ay payag sa krimen. Walang mag-iikot ng forms kung saan isusulat mo ang inyong pangalan, address, edad, special skills sa lason, sa arnis at long-range sniper rifles kasama ang 2x2 ID picture. The doctrine of implied conspiracy tells us that conspiracy may be inferred from the conduct of the parties, their joint purpose, community of interest, and in the mode and manner of the commission of the offense. In a conspiracy, express or implied, the act of one becomes the act of all. We begin our suggested answer with Bernardo and his armed group are criminally liable as co-conspirators, but Benjamin should be acquitted because of his own spontaneous desistance. As I've mentioned in our digital workbook 8, 101 practice problems for lost law students and bar takers, every answer you write must be treated as if it were a miniature pleading. Always begin by stating your short answer to the problem and then your position. Make it easy for the examiner to grade your work. Next, we need to write our legal basis. The law does not require that you cite the entire provision of the law. All that matters is you write the most relevant portions of the law. Article 8 of the Revised Penal Code provides that a conspiracy or a proposal to commit a felony are only punishable in cases where the law specially provides a penalty therefor. There is a conspiracy when two or more people come to an agreement concerning the commission of a felony and decide to commit it. Notice kapatid that I have used the precise language of the law. The law demands precision in everything we do. However, I have taken the liberty of not writing the entirety of the provision. Doon lang tayo sa relevant, mahalaga at magagamit natin sa susunod na paragraph. Our next line is our most important paragraph. Our arguments. This is where you have to argue. Ilaban mo yan kapatid. You cannot parrot back to the examiner the facts that he or she has written down. Wala siyang paki dito kapatid dahil siya ang nagsulat ng problem. Malamang sa malamang ay alam din naman niya ang kwento nito. In this next line, we have to tell the examiner why we have taken this position and why we have chosen this legal basis. We have to give back to the examiner what he or she needs. It's our chance to say, "Ha, I see what you did there." We do this by arguing why we are correct. In effect, we need to sell to the examiner why we are correct. You can land at the correct answer kapatid, pero kung hindi mo naman ito maibebenta, kung hindi mo naman makukumbinsi ang examiner na tama ka, ay wala ka na ring pinagkaiba sa ilang libong sagot na dadaan lang sa kanyang mga mata. We stand out by first being hyper-responsive to the problem, and second, through our eloquence. This begins by laying down the strongest argument. What is our strongest argument here? The strongest argument here is that there is an implied conspiracy when Bernardo and his armed group came together and executed the maleficent design of killing Yori. However, Benjamin cannot be held criminally liable because he had already abandoned the conspiracy. Now, how do we say all of this in the simplest, most concise manner possible? In this problem, Bernardo and his armed group are criminally liable as principals and co-conspirators because they convened and executed a plan to kill Yori. Benjamin is not criminally liable because he desisted from the conspiracy and there is no penalty for the mere conspiracy to commit murder. Notice kapatid that we began our suggested answer with "in this problem." Masakit sa mata ang mabasa ang "in the case at bar" dahil wala naman tayo sa korte at ito ay isang academic exercise. Hindi mo yun ikinakatalino kapatid. Pwedeng-pwede na rin kami sa "here, dahil madali lang itong dot-dotin sa iyong keyboard." I hope I'm still making sense so far. Pansinin mo rin kapatid na ang ating sagot ay hindi pag-uulit lamang ng mga facts. Marami kasing estudyante ang sasagot ng "here, police officer John shot at Randy." Kapag ganun, inuulit mo lang ang problem. Walang pakialam ang examiner o professor mo sa kwento dahil siya mismo naman ang umimbento nito. Of course, he or she knows exactly what happened in the problem. If you do this, you are tendering a factual or facts-based answer. Next, you need to phrase your answer in the form of an argument. You are in law school because you are hoping that someday, one day, you will be a lawyer. At a certain point in your life, kapatid, you will be arguing for a living. Hindi ko naman sinasabi na maging palaaway ka, kapatid. Arguing means convincing your professor, your examiner, or the courts on the merits of your position. Arguing means selling your position and convincing your professor of the correctness of your answer. In your third paragraph, you need to argue. Hindi ka pwedeng umulit lang ng facts. Wala ka nang magiging kaibahan sa ilang libong booklet o answer sheet na dadaan lang sa mata ng mga examiner. Dapat kapag binasa ng professor mo ang sagot mo, masasabi niya na magiging abogada ang batang are. Finally, we have the conclusion. This is the part where most law students are awfully confused. Maraming mga hindi na lang nagsusulat ng kanilang mga conclusion dahil ayaw lang nilang ulitin ang sinabi nila sa bungad ng kanilang mga sagot. A good conclusion should wrap up your entire position, legal basis, and your arguments. It should function like a mic drop. Tipong pag nag-conclude ka na kapatid ay tapos na ang usapan. Uwian na dahil may nanalo na. If you are unsure of what to do, focus on the effects of your answer. With our conclusion, the suggested answer should look like this. Bernardo and his armed group are criminally liable as co-conspirators, but Benjamin should be acquitted because of his own spontaneous desistance. Article 8 of the Revised Penal Code provides that a conspiracy or a proposal to commit a felony are only punishable in cases where the law specially provides a penalty therefor. There is a conspiracy when two or more people come to an agreement concerning the commission of a felony and decide to commit it. In this problem, Bernardo and his armed group are criminally liable as principals and co-conspirators because they convened and executed the plan to kill Yori. Benjamin is not criminally liable because he desisted from the conspiracy and there is no penalty for the mere conspiracy to commit murder. For these reasons, Benjamin should be exonerated of the charges against him. The worst mistake you can make in a conclusion is to simply repeat your opening statement. This would be a waste of your examiners or professors' precious time and attention. Marami ring hindi na lang nagsusulat ng conclusion dahil ayaw na lang nilang umulit lang ng first sentence. When you don't know what to write, focus on the fruits, effects, and results. Assuming that your answer is correct. Ano kaya ngayon? Salamat kapatid at sinamahan mo ako sa ilang minuto na tayo ay nagsagot ng isang bar exam problem. I will be doing my best to respond to all of your answers in the comments and give you timely feedback. Sana at kahit papano ay may natutunan ka. The means and methods I've discussed here are all contained in our digital workbook 8, 101 practice problems for lost law students and bar takers. Here you will be tasked with answering about 105 bar problems spread out in various bar subjects. All of the answers here are broken down, explained, and discussed in much greater detail than what we have done here. You will also learn about how examiners draft their problems, where questions come from, and how to predict with a reasonable degree of accuracy the problems that might come out in your midterm and final exams. In this workbook, I've also discussed the common tactics that professors use to confuse law students and baristas. At ano ang pwedeng pangontra sa mga tactics nila? Narito rin ang mga typical na mali ng mga law students sa kanilang mga sagot at kung paano natin ito gagamutin. Follow along the journey as we help you take your answers from miserable to elegante. Grab your copy of 8, 101 practice problems for lost law students and bar takers through the links in the description box below. If you would like to see more episodes on how to answer law school exams and bar problems, please let me know by typing yes in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Like and share this video for good law school karma, and I will see you next Friday.